Welcome to another Incubate show. We're going to discuss today the authorized representatives that can represent you or that can work with you or give you legal advice when it comes to Canadian immigration. Now, there are different categories of authorized representatives that could potentially give you advice. Before we talk about that, let's just talk about the general concept when it comes to Canadian immigration or submitting an application for immigration or any other non-immigrant visa or non-immigrant process that you approach CIC for. The Canadian immigration system is built in such a way where you don't have to hire an authorized representative. It is your choice to select or to work with an authorized representative, whether it's to get legal advice, to better understand the immigration system, or even authorizing that person to represent you with the Canadian government as you go through different steps in the immigration process, or even if you have to go to court to, and then having somebody that accompany you or submit your documents on your behalf. It's not mandatory, it's optional. But when it comes to this option, you have to be extremely careful with who you work with. Not everybody can be an authorized representative. Not everybody is regulated or registered in Canada to offer you immigration services. Many companies around the world can claim that they are authorized to offer you advice or offer you legal consultation or even represent you with the government. There are only three categories or three different buckets of representation that you can select somebody from in order to work with anything related to Canadian immigration. You have number one, regulated Canadian immigration consultant, which is RCIC. There is an entity or a designated authority that regulates RCICs, or registered Canadian immigration consultants. That authority is called ICCRC, or the Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Authority, or Council. So ICCRC, they regulate a certain number of immigration consultants. They designate them, and then after that they maintain their status every single year, and then that status is being renewed as the RCIC, or the regulated immigration consultant, continues to maintain their good standing. Here, you need to check, number one, if that person is really regulated or registered with ICCRC or not. And if they are, what is their status? Are they active? Are they in good standing? Or has their license been suspended? A lot of companies have registered immigration consultants that are either their founders or they work for these companies. Here, you need to understand one thing. ICCRC regulates people, individuals, not companies. So you always need to check on the status of the individual or the RCCRC. That person has a license that they receive from the authorized organization, and then through that license they're able to practice. The next category is attorneys or lawyers and paralegals that are registered with the Law Society of a specific province. So you have a province, the attorney or the paralegal, they're registered in that province, and they're able to practice in that particular province and offer immigration services through the law society that they belong to. And again here, you need to check the registration of that attorney or that paralegal, if they're active or inactive, if the license is suspended, or if they even exist in that system, or if they can practice in that province. The difference between an RCIC and an attorney or a lawyer is an attorney can practice law, all law, immigration and non-immigration, in a specific province. An RCIC is an immigration consultant, keyword is immigration, can practice only immigration, but on a federal level, so all over Canada. So an RCIC can practice immigration all over Canada. An attorney can practice all different kinds of law in a specific province. The main focal point when it comes to authority between an attorney or a lawyer and an RCIC is that an attorney can represent you at federal court. So if you have a judicial review, an attorney can help you with that. An RCIC cannot. The limitation for RCIC is the IRB, or the Immigration and then Refugee Board. So IRB is the limitation for an RCIC. Federal court and above, the Supreme Court, or if you're even going to go at the highest level of courts in Canada, you need an attorney to do that for you. The next category is the notaries in Quebec. Quebec has a different immigration system than the rest of Canada, so you need to have an authorization to offer immigration services for anybody that is going to work with the Quebec immigration system. So now these three buckets, RCICs, attorneys, and the notaries in Quebec. What you need to understand when it comes to immigration services in Canada is the following. Nobody, absolutely nobody is allowed by law to offer you immigration consulting service or a representation with the immigration office through an application you're going to submit if they charge you any services other than these three. So any paid representation for consulting when it comes to immigration, or representation when it comes to immigration, other than these three. So attorneys, RCICs, notaries in Quebec. Only these three can offer you immigration advice, represent you for an immigration case. Nobody else is allowed to charge you a penny for any legal advice related to immigration or represent you for an immigration case for a paid service other than these three. So what do you need to do? The first thing that takes place is the following. You ask about the designation of that person. You would like to represent me when it comes to my immigration case. You want to give me immigration advice. The first thing you need to ask is, who is the authority that designated you? Is it ICCRC? Is it a law society? Or are you a notary in Quebec? After you understand where they fall, then you need to ask about their registration number. You need to ask about their license number. And then you need to go to the ICCRC website, and then you click on Find a Representative. You enter the registration number or the first or the last name of the representative. Remember, an individual is licensed, not the company. You look for the name of that person in the ICCRC system. Is that person authorized or not? If that person is authorized, are they in good standing or not? If that person comes back to you and say, no, I'm actually an attorney, I'm a lawyer, I am able to practice in Ontario or in British Columbia. Great. You go and you check on the Law Society website for the province where that attorney is authorized, and you check on the standing or the good standing of that attorney. If the name is in the list of ICCRC or the Law Society, and the person is in active or in good standing with one of these two, that means they are authorized to give you and charge you for immigration advice and or represent you for an immigration case. If the name is not in there, that means that person can potentially be something called a ghost consultant, a non-regulated, non-registered person who claims to be regulated. What you need to understand is that this is not bound by physical location. Regardless of where that person is, inside Canada, outside of Canada, in your home country, in a neighboring country, wherever that person is, if they're registered and regulated, whether it is by ICCRC or by a law society or in Quebec, that certification follows them wherever they go as an individual. Meaning, if let's assume you live in, let's say, the United Arab Emirates, or you live in India, or you live in Pakistan, or you live in Iran, or whatever you are, and you have a local company that is an immigration company or a law firm, you approach them, they want to charge you for a specific service, immigration-related service, either for advice or to represent you. You stop, you ask for the registration number and the name of the entity that designated that person. ICCRC or a law society, or if they're in Quebec, if they're in Quebec, if they're a notary. It's just one of these three. One of these three. Obviously, if it's a paralegal under a law firm, that's also allowed. So these are the only thing that can, these are the only three buckets that can offer you paid service. Okay. What if somebody says to you that I am an agent, I am a representative of a law firm in Canada, or I am a representative or an agent of a regulated immigration consultant in Canada. Similarly to an RCIC, the agents of an RCIC have to be registered with ICCRC. They have to be regulated as well. The immigration consultant has the duty of registering his or her agents with ICCRC. If the relationship is terminated, the RCIC has to immediately inform ICCRC that the relationship has been terminated with that agent. Because at the end of the day, the RCIC is accountable for all the outcome, all the work, anything and everything that their employees and their agents, they do. So, can you sign a retainer directly with an agent? Absolutely not. The only person that is authorized to sign an agreement, a retainer agreement with you, is the RCIC, unless you work with an attorney. Here, there is no middleman. You actually have to sign a direct contract with the RCIC. You have to ensure that the designation is accurate. You have to make sure that the person is in good standing. So do your homework before you sign any retainers. You cannot sign a retainer with an agent. It is illegal. That contract is not valid. An agent cannot sign any contracts on behalf of an RCIC. An agent cannot receive any money on behalf of an RCIC. Your relationship with the RCIC is direct. The agent facilitates things. The agent assists the RCIC in conducting business locally in the country where the agent is. Meaning, the RCIC or the immigration consultant, the registered immigration consultant, prepares your retainer, gives that to the agent to deliver to you with the RCIC's name on it. You sign the retainer, you give it back to the immigration consultant for dual signature, and you proceed with a relationship directly with the registered immigration consultant with the assistance of the agent. So, the agent is not allowed to sign an agreement with you. Only the ICCRC, or if you're going to work with an attorney. Okay, what if you're working with an immigration company that tells you they are regulated, or they tell you that they are an agent, but they're not registered? Their name is nowhere on the ICCRC list, or even in the law society where they claim to be associated with. What do? This is the scenario where the ghost consultant fraud case would take into place. Do not sign any agreements with that person. That company cannot offer you an immigration advice for paid service. That company cannot sign any retainers with you. that person is not allowed to represent you with the government. When you work with a person, there's something called the use of representative form that you fill out and you submit with your application to the CIC office or the Citizenship and Immigration Canada office. That use of reps application is going to ask you a focal point. Did you do the application yourself, or did you ask for the help of somebody to fill in this application? If you did ask for the help of somebody to fill in this application, was this a paid service or was this a free service? If you say that, yes, I did get somebody's help and that was for free, that means it could be a family member, a friend, a colleague, somebody that did not charge you any money and they just wanted to assist you in filling up the application, but you have to declare that. You can't say nobody helped me. If somebody helped you, did not charge you any money, you have to declare that. But if somebody helped you and you paid that person, this is not a free service, at any point in the whole entire process, from the day that you start talking to that person and they offer you immigration consulting service and then you do one application after another, till the day you get a final notification or response from the CIC office, in this whole entire period, if the person is going to get a payment, you have to declare that person as one of the three categories: RCIC, and you give the registration number; an attorney and or a paralegal, and you have to give the registration number with a law society; or a notary in Quebec. Other than that, nobody else can charge you for any immigration advice or any immigration service. Now, we discussed the fact that this is not bound by a specific location or geographic coverage. We discussed the different categories on who can and who cannot work with you. And we discussed the fact that this is an actual option for you. It is not mandatory for you to hire somebody. So who do you work with? How do you find out if that person is legitimate or not? You research them. You go online. You find out their status. You look at the regulation aspect of things. Who's after them, and who's backing them up, who's giving them their designation, is it an attorney backed by the law society, what is their status with them, is this an actual agent or an actual RCIC, an immigration consultant registered with ICCRC. Be careful. Do your homework. Don't trust anybody that just walks into your office or just comes in and invites you to go into their office and tell you just sign this retainer, or tells you I'm going to charge you for immigration advice. We have seen many cases of people falling in the traps of misrepresentation by specific individuals, whether it is they're authorized or not, they're in legal status or not, they're in good standing or not, whatever it is. Do your homework. You're the only person that can verify this before you sign any retainers or start taking legal advice when it comes to immigration consultation. I hope this gives you a better understanding of the authorized representatives that are allowed to work with you in Canada. I hope that you understand how the use of representative form works, who's supposed to be declared and who isn't. And I hope you'll be able to make the right choice when it comes to the next engagement that you will have with anything related to Canadian immigration or any forms or applications you'll be submitting to CIC in the near future.